There's a country almost no one thinks about, landlocked, tucked between China and the four other stands of Central Asia, 1,600 miles from the nearest ocean. But the moment you step off the plane, everything you thought you knew about the modern world starts to wobble. Because here, people scroll Instagram from horseback. Grandfathers who cannot read memorize the longest poem in human history, 20 times longer than the Iliad and Odyssey combined. 90% of the country sits above 3,280 feet, yet the capital is lower than Denver. There's a lake bigger than Rhode Island at 5,272 feet that never freezes. Snow leopards live higher than any big cat on Earth, and there are men who train golden eagles by hand, not for tourist shows, but because their ancestors were doing it 4,000 years ago. Welcome to Kyrgyzstan, where the past never actually left. It's just been waiting for you to catch up. Our story begins high up, in mountains they call celestial. Flying from New York to Bishkek takes about 15 hours, but walking out of Manas Airport, your first feeling isn't remote. It's why does the sky feel so close? Answer 2, 460 feet of elevation, and no light pollution to speak of. Kyrgyzstan is landlocked deep in Central Asia, 1,600 miles from the closest coastline, bordered by Kazakhstan, China, Tajikistan, and Uzbekistan. Roughly 77,200 square miles, about the size of Nebraska. But here's the thing, Nebraska is flat. This country is not. 90% of Kyrgyzstan is mountains. 94% of the land sits above 3,280 feet Denver elevation, but everywhere. The Tian Shan, the Celestial Mountains, translated from ancient Chinese, dominate the entire country. Stretching 2,500 kilometers across 4 nations, Kyrgyzstan gets the wildest slice. The highest peak is Jengish Chakusu Victory Peak at 24,406 feet, almost double Mount Rainier. Right next to it, Khan Tengri, 22,999 feet in a nearly perfect pyramid shape. Climbers call it one of the most beautiful mountains on Earth. Then, Lenin Peak, 23,406 feet, considered the most accessible 7,000-meter summit on the planet. The climate is brutal. Bishkek can hit 100 Fahrenheit in summer, -20 in winter. Up at 10,000 feet, you can experience all 4 seasons in one afternoon. Sun, rain, hail, sun again. 3 hours. But here's what's cool. There's a lake called Kel Su that appears seasonally, full of water in summer. At 11,548 feet, gone entirely in winter. Refills when the glaciers melt. At 9,800 feet, there's a site called Simalu Tash, thousands of ancient rock carvings, some 4,000 years old, the highest elevation petroglyph gallery in Central Asia. And south of Issyk-Kul Skazka Canyon, red sandstone, eroded into shapes like Grand Canyon, met Petra Jordan. But the wildest thing is the sky itself. At Song-Kul, at nearly 10,000 feet, no light pollution for 50 miles. The Milky Way appears not as a smudge, but as a silver river you could almost step across. This isn't off the beaten path. This is there was never a path to begin with. Before we continue our wonderful journey to Kyrgyzstan, let me know what time it is, where you're watching, and which country you're in. Drop it in the comments below. The name Kyrgyzstan literally means land of 40 tribes. Kyrg means 40. Wais means tribe. Stan means country. 7 million people live here, 75% ethnic Kyrgyz of Turkic and Mongolic descent. Legend says 40 maidens fled south from Siberia, reached the shores of Song-Kul, and founded the 40 original clans. Kyrgyz hospitality is legendary. Locals say you can get a warm meal at 3,000 meters at any unexpected time. Any yurt anywhere will welcome you. Tea appears. Bread is broken. A bed is offered. Bread itself is sacred, never placed upside down, always given and received with the right hand. This is konachuluk, the national principle of hospitality, similar in spirit to Ubuntu in Africa. Kyrgyzstan is one of only 2 countries on Earth with a dwelling on its flag. Look at the flag, the sun with 3 crossed lines inside. That's a tunduk, the crown of a yurt. And here's the thing, it's not we used to be nomads, it's we still are. Yurts are still built. Babies are still born inside them every summer. The past isn't past here, it's Tuesday. Let me tell you about Kurmanjan Datka. Born 1811. At 18, she fled her arranged marriage and joined a mountain uprising. She rose to lead the entire Alai Highland against the Russian Empire. They called her the Queen of the Mountains, Kyrgyzstan's Joan of Arc. The 2014 film about her is still the most watched Kyrgyz movie ever made. Kyrgyz women are master felt artists. Until recently, a girl couldn't marry until she made a Shyrdak, a hand-stitched felt rug, for her dowry. Each takes 2 to 6 months and lasts 100 years. The Akalpak, the white felt hat, became UNESCO heritage in 2019. The Elachek, the women's white turban, followed in 2023. Kyrgyzstan also gave the world Chingiz Aitmatov. His book, Jamila, has been translated into 176 languages, nominated for the Nobel Prize multiple times. Bishkek, the capital. But don't picture skyscrapers, picture leafy avenues, Soviet marble buildings, and behind every intersection, a wall of snowy Alatu mountains, some peaks over 15,000 feet, looking like they might just walk into town. At the heart is Alatu Square, the tallest Kyrgyz flag at 148 feet. A bronze statue of Manas. Every hour, a changing of the guard young soldiers in traditional armor. Nearby stands the White House, where 2 peaceful revolutions began in 2005 and 2010. Then there's Osh Bazaar, 2,000 years old, same age as the Silk Road. It sprawls a full kilometer. Watermelons so red they almost glow. Naan bread pulled from a tandoor an hour ago. Cumin, coriander, charcoal in the air. Turkish jeans next to Kyrgyz felt hats next to horse meat sausage called chuchuk. This is where Bishkek shops. Getting around is easy. Marshrutkas shared minivans cost 23 cents a ride with the new tap-to-pay Tulpar card. Yandex Go crosses town for $3 to $5. Coffee culture is exploding. Adriano Sierra. Coffee, a legit latte for $2. And here's what seals it. On weekends, the whole city empties out. Not to malls, to the mountains. Ala Archa National Park is 45 minutes away. Marble Soviet Plaza to Alpine Glacier in under an hour. Trust me on this one, Bishkek is Soviet on the outside, but Kyrgyz inside. Marshrutka drivers play the Manas epic on repeat. But now, let's leave, because the soul of Kyrgyzstan isn't here. Drive 3 hours east of Bishkek. Turn off the asphalt. 2 more hours up a dirt road in a 4-wheel drive. Then you stop. 40 white yurts, arranged around a lake, at 9,895 feet. Wild horses grazing, wood smoke rising. This is Song-Kul, and it's just one of hundreds of Jailoos. A Jailoo is a summer pasture where semi-nomadic Kyrgyz families move every year from June to September, exactly as their ancestors did 1,000 years ago. The yurt itself is called Boz Ui, literally grey house. Built in about 2 hours. Wooden lattice frame, thick felt walls, and that circular crown at the top called the tunduk, the same shape you see on the flag. A village called Kizil has produced yurts for the entire country since Soviet times. Now, the rhythm. 5 a.m. A woman in her 60s steps out. She milks the mares. Only females give milk, and only at dawn. Tea is boiled. Bread. Kaymak clotted cream. By 7, the men are out with the herds. 6-year-olds herd sheep. 3-year-olds ride ponies. There's a saying, a Kyrgyz child rides before he walks. Elders, the aksakals, meaning white beards, handle village disputes. No police needed. Weather is read from cloud shapes. Kokoi tal tea for kidneys. Mountain honey for the stomach. Solar panels sit on the yurt roof. The kids WhatsApp their cousins working in Russia. This isn't a museum, not a reenactment. This is how 40 families are living. Tomorrow and the day after. Remember when I said people here scroll Instagram from horseback? This is where that's true. And in the evening, when the fire crackles and the stars come out, an old man begins to sing. No instrument, just a poem. A poem that goes on for 14 hours. That poem is called Manas. This might be the least known amazing fact about Kyrgyzstan, but it's the most stunning. The Epic of Manas is 500,000 lines. Guinness World Record longest epic poem ever published. 20 times longer than the Iliad and Odyssey combined. 2.5 times longer than the Mahabharata. It tells the story of Manas, a legendary Kyrgyz warrior who united the 40 tribes. Here's the thing. For 1,000 years, it wasn't written down. It lived in people's heads, passed down by specialists called Manasky bards, who dedicated their entire lives to memorizing it. Tradition says a Manasky doesn't choose the calling. He's chosen in a dream by the spirit of Manas himself. In November 2020, a Manashi named Dulot Sidikov performed a live recitation in Alatu Square for 14 hours straight, non-stop. The 20th century master Sayakbai Karalayev, nicknamed the Homer of the 20th century, recorded a version with 553 lines. Fewer than 30 great masters are alive today. Most teach at the Kyrgyz National Conservatory. Columbia University runs a World Epics program that studies Manas. Kyrgyz Manaskis have toured the UK and performed across Europe. Here's a story. A grandfather, Intalis illiterate, never learned to read a single word, knows 200,000 lines of Manas by heart. His grandchildren record him on their smartphones now. He can't read, but he holds an entire nation inside his head. the longest poem in the world born beside yurt fires, next to a hot bowl of beshbarmak, which brings us to the food. Let's talk food. Kyrgyzstan isn't famous for its cuisine, but that's what makes it cool. Nothing here is tourist adapted. It's the real thing. The national dish is beshbarmak. It literally means 5 fingers. You eat it with your hand from a communal platter. Boiled horse meat or lamb, flat hand-cut noodles, rich onion broth, served at weddings, funerals, holidays. $3 to $6 at any local restaurant. When a family shares beshbarmak with you in Narin, they give you the best cut the hip meat. That's an honor. And then there's Kaimai's fermented mare's milk, about 3% natural alcohol, sour fizzy, deeply strange, available only May through August. Locals swear by it. During Soviet times, whole sanatoriums around Song-Kul specialized in Kaimai's cures for tuberculosis and ulcers. Beyond that, osh plov, considered the best rice pilaf in Central Asia, $2 to $5 a plate. Samsa meat pastries, pulled hot from tandoor ovens, under $2. And lagman, hand-pulled noodles in spicy broth from the Uyghur and Dungan communities in Karakol. You eat beshbarmak, you drink the kaimais, and then someone over the fire says, "Do you want to meet an eagle?" There's only one answer. Bokonbaevo village. 6 a.m., -10 Fahrenheit. You meet Nur Sultan, 45, in his white akkalpak, thick leather glove up to the elbow. On that glove sits a golden eagle, 15 pounds of muscle and feather wingspan, 6.5 feet. Her name is Suluke. Let's talk about her. The golden eagle, called Berkut in Kyrgyz. Females weigh up to 7 kilograms. Wingspan 2 meters. Yellow laser eyes. 3-inch talons. 30 to 40 years in the wild, up to 50 with a hunter. Only females are trained. Bigger, stronger, more aggressive. How does she survive? She dives at 150 miles per hour, hunts foxes, hares, even young wolves. A Berkutchu eagle hunter captures an eaglet on the mountain at just 2 or 3 months old, trains her for 3 to 4 years. Between hunts, she wears a leather hood called a tomogo that keeps her calm. Hunting season is winter snow, makes foxes easier to spot. Here's why this matters. There's an old saying, Burkut Kernu Bosta Bolu. An eagle has a yurt in its heart. This tradition is over 4,000 years old. And here's the beautiful part. After 15 or 20 years together, the hunter releases his eagle back to the wild. Nur Sultan's mentor Talgar released his eagle to Mara after 2 decades. He said, "I have spent so many years with her. I hope she will enjoy her freedom." This isn't a trick for the camera. This is how Kyrgyz people see the world. You don't own an eagle, you raise her up. Then you let her go. Because freedom means more than love. Real talk, only about 50 Berkutchu are left in Kyrgyzstan. But the number is finally going up. Tourism preserved them. If the golden eagle is Kyrgyzstan's symbol, another creature is its ghost, barely photographed in the wild here until the 1970s. The snow leopard, Panthera uncia, 55 to 90 pounds, 4-foot body plus a 3-foot tail. Silver-gray fur with dark rosettes. That tail, thick as a boa constrictor, helps them balance and stay warm. Here's the wild part. Snow leopards in Kyrgyzstan live at 17,000 to 18,000 feet. Highest dwelling big cat on planet Earth. Higher than Everest Base Camp They can leap 45 feet in a single bound. Their prey is ibex and Marco Polo sheep, the largest wild sheep on Earth, with horns over 5 feet long. Kyrgyzstan is a global leader here. In 2013, Bishkek hosted the Bishkek Declaration. 12 nations that share snow leopard habitat signed a binding conservation pact. Roughly 300 to 500 snow leopards live in Kyrgyzstan, highest density in Central Asia. Karakol Valley runs tracking tours. Only about 2% of visitors see the leopard herself, but 100% see the tracks in fresh snow. And now let's go back 1,000 years. Silk Road. You hear about it in Uzbekistan, in China, in Iran. But right in the middle of those famous routes, at 11,500 feet, in the Kyrgyz mountains, there's a lonely grey stone building called Tash Rabat, a caravanserai from the 15th century, though some historians say 10th. Built entirely of stone. No cement, no nails, just stones set upon stones. 31 rooms where merchants could hide from wind snow wolves. This was a stopover between Xi'an and Constantinople. Closer to Bishkek, the Barana Tower, an 11th century minaret. Originally 148 feet tall, now 82 feet after earthquakes. It's what remains of a Karakhanid Khanate city, and around it, over 100 Balbal ancient carved stone figures, with human faces standing upright like the Moai of Easter Island. Central Asia's answer to Rapa Nui. And then there's Osh, Kyrgyzstan's second city, 3,000 years old, older than Rome. UNESCO's Suleiman II Sacred Mountain sits right in the middle of downtown. Let's go back to Song-Kul, but this time at night. The sun sets behind an 11,000-foot pass. Yurt fires flicker. An old man pulls out a komuz, the national instrument, a 3-string lute carved from apricot wood. He plays a haunting melody, like mountain wind and galloping horses combined. And you look up. No light pollution for 50 miles. The sky is jet black. The Milky Way appears not as a smudge, but as a bright silver river across the dome. Photographer Albert Dross captured a shot of it reflected in Song-Kul's south shore. It looks unreal. One story sums up Kyrgyzstan. A solo female traveler arrived at Song-Kul with no plan. Started walking. A storm came in fast. A nomad rider spotted her, pulled up on his horse, motioned for her to get on the second horse he was leading. She rode back with him. A puppy came out to greet them at the yurt. This isn't hospitality here, it's the default. Now south to a forest. In southwestern Kyrgyzstan, there's a forest few people know about, but it might be the most important forest on Earth. The village's Arslanbob sits at 1,600 meters. It's surrounded by 600,000 hectares of natural walnut forest, the largest natural walnut forest on the planet, size of Delaware. And scientists believe this is the original gene pool of every cultivated walnut in the world. Every single walnut you've eaten, its great-great-grandmother tree lives here. Bonus fact, the Tian Shan is also the birthplace of the modern apple. Malu Siversi, the wild apple ancestor. Fuji Gala, Honeycrisp, every apple you've eaten traces back to these mountains. Every September and October, the entire village harvests by hand. Families earn $500 to $2,000 per season. You can join. Homestays are $15 to $25 a night, with meals. And here's the twist. The village is 98% Uzbek-speaking, giving you a completely different cultural flavor from the Kyrgyz north. From walnuts back to horses, because in Kyrgyzstan, everything eventually comes back to horses. The Kyrgyz horse is small, sturdy, 12 to 14 hands. Not pretty by racing standards, but it can survive minus 40 degrees Fahrenheit on open Jailoo. And here, kids ride before they walk. Only mares give the milk that becomes kaimais. And then there's Kok-Boru, sometimes called buzkashi or ulaktatish in the region. The literal translation is dead goat polo, 4 riders per team. They grab a goat carcass now replaced by a synthetic dummy called a Cirque-Surge Collide and try to hurl it into their opponent's goal. 20-minute periods, fast, brutal, absolutely unforgiving. UNESCO named it Intangible Cultural Heritage in 2017. Kyrgyzstan is currently the reigning world champion. And many historians actually believe modern polo evolved from Kok-Boru, but Kok-Boru never needed bourgeois manners. Then there's Enish horseback wrestling. 2 riders grab each other's belts and try to pull each other off their horses. Balance, strength, timing, horses, riding, wrestling. Now art made from wool. And here's the thing, Kyrgyzstan has around 3,500 distinct ornamental patterns. This is something you wouldn't expect from a nomadic country. Kyrgyzstan has one of the world's richest visual pattern traditions. About 3,500 distinct ornaments. Shyrdak, hand-stitched felt rugs done in a mosaic technique. UNESCO recognized 2012. Natural wool, dyed with walnut peels, pomegranate bark, onion skins. Each takes 2 to 6 months of handwork, lasts 100 years. The akalpak, the white felt hat. The tall shape represents a mountain peak. UNESCO, 2019. The elachek, the multi-layered women's turban. UNESCO, 2023. Every pattern means something. Ram's horns for bravery. Sun and moon for life and fertility. A triangular amulet, the tumor protects against evil. Here's a US connection. Since 2011, Kyrgyz artisans have participated in the international folk art market in Santa Fe, New Mexico. 90% are women. If you go to Santa Fe in July, you'll find them there. And now the biggest event Kyrgyzstan holds every 2 years. August 31st, 2026. The Cholpon Ata Hippodrome on the shores of Song-Kul Lake. 4,000 athletes, 90 countries, 37 sports. Horses, eagles, wrestlers. This is the World Nomad Games, and in 2026, they're coming home. The Games were born in Kyrgyzstan in 2014. Held here in 2014, 2016, and 2018. Then hosted by Turkey in 2022 and Kazakhstan in 2024. In 2026, homecoming. The New York Times ranked the Tian Shan region number 31 on their 52 places to go 2026 list specifically because of this event. The star sport is Kok-Boru. The finals are held at full gallop, 20-minute periods, 4 riders per team. Modern polo, remember, evolved from this. Kyrgyzstan is the defending world champion. Then eagle hunting. The eagle is placed 200 meters from her hunter. On the judge's signal, the hunter calls. The eagle that returns fastest wins. If the eagle doesn't respond within 2 minutes, the team is eliminated. American athletes have competed since 2016 from Denver, from Phoenix. Team USA has entered Kok-Boru archery and wrestling. So the 90-plus countries include ours. That's what Kyrgyzstan does to you. This isn't the Olympics of the nomads as nostalgia. This isn't preserving some fading tradition. This is alive. You hear the hooves, you hear the eagle scream, and you understand Kyrgyzstan never stopped. It was just waiting for you to catch up. All right, before we wrap up, here's the practical stuff. Timing. June to August is peak every Jailoo Open, Song-Kul yurts, running 2026 World Nomad Games from August 31st to September 6th. 100 to 140 a day. April to May is spring. Fewer crowds, some passes still snowed in. 60 to 90. September to October, honestly the best time. Autumn colors walnut harvest mild weather. 70 to 100 a day. November to March. Karakol has world-class backcountry skiing. Yurts closed. 50 to 80. Snow leopard tracking is November through February. Eagle hunters, December through February. Roadside kime is May through August. Costs. Budget 30 to 50 a day. Hostel dorm, $12. Marshrutkas at 23 cents. Mid-range, 100 to 140, gets a guest house, shared four-wheel drive, 10 to 15 buck meals. Luxury 200 to 300 private four-wheel drive driver at 130 a day, plus glamping yurts. From the US Delta or United, from JFK to Istanbul, then Turkish Airlines to Bishkek. Round trip 900 to 1400 in economy. Book 4 months ahead for June. Exchange rate around 87 som per dollar. ATMs in Bishkek Osh Karakol accept Visa. Outside cities, cash is king. Visa for Americans, visa-free 60 days. One of the most liberal regimes in Central Asia. Just show up with your passport. Final tips. Bread is sacred, never upside down on the table. The tour, the honored seat in a yurt, wait to be invited. Don't photograph inside a mosque without asking. Use Yandex Go instead of street taxis. Ala Archer charges a 200 som permit, about $230 US. Kyrgyzstan, land of 40 tribes, where an eagle rises off the arm of a hunter who has waited for her through 20 winters, where an illiterate grandfather holds the longest poem in human history inside his head, where white yurts arrange themselves around a lake at 9,895 feet, not for tourism, but so that a family has a roof under a sky that shows you the Milky Way like a silver river. Kyrgyzstan isn't off the beaten path. It's where there was never a path to begin with. If you ever set foot here, you'll leave with something you can't quite put into words. Because Kyrgyzstan isn't just a place, it's a memory that hasn't happened yet. If Kyrgyzstan just made your bucket list, drop Salamat Sizbi in the comments. That's hello in Kyrgyz. If you enjoyed this journey, hit like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss the next country we visit together. Where should we go next? Japan? Morocco? Bhutan? Peru? Drop your guess below and share this with the friend you want to travel with. Until next time, my friend, Jakshi Kalingiz. that safe journey in Kyrgyz, Jakshi Kalingiz from Kyrgyzstan.